So, the trade deadline is finally passed. The 12th is over, it's come and gone, and at the end of the day, we can say at least the Winnipeg Jets didn't do nothing. They acquired Jordie Benn from the Vancouver Canucks for a 6th-round pick in this year's draft, and I gotta say, that was a little bit disappointing in my opinion. I made a video talking about that, which I will link in the description if you want to hear my initial thoughts on that signing a few hours after it happened. So I will link that for you guys to watch for your enjoyment down in the description below. But basically why I want to talk about this video is because of the fact that Kevin Cheveldayoff made some very interesting remarks in his post-trade deadline after the 12 o'clock deadline whatnot interview he gave, where he talked about what went wrong and how the day went for him and whatnot, and whether or not he was trying to do more and all this stuff, and the usual Cheveldayoff type questions. What was interesting though about this interview in particular was the fact that he talked about how deals fell through, how deals weren't, just working in his favor, how he couldn't get the right, things to work, and how he was calling consistently. So in Chevy's eyes, unless that's all, if that's all true and what he was saying was true, and how he had deals that were coming around the corner that fell through at the last minute, that Chevy knows that this team needs an upgrade on defense to win. He knows that, and he knows that Jordie Benn isn't going to be the guy to fix these problems. He's just good depth, and he wanted to get somebody because every GM does if you're trying to make a push. Depth's important. I think there's not a single fan that can argue that having Jordie Benn doesn't make us better, it doesn't make us worse, it just makes us, have better depth in my opinion. So I don't think any fans arguing the fact that Jordie Benn provides decent depth for us, but more importantly the fact that Cheveldayoff didn't go out and acquire a top 4 guy that could help really solidify the core moving forward into a playoff push. Now, again, getting back to what I want to talk about, and that's his interview where he was specifically talking about how he expects and wants to see the emergence of Ville Heinola with this club moving forward. And I think this is an interesting topic because although there have been a lot of different Jets fans' opinions on Ville Heinola and just the usage of prospects this year in the lineup, I feel like Ville Heinola is an interesting point to talk about now, because we're not just talking about Ville Heinola coming off of a really great World Junior performance, but we're talking about Ville Heinola now, who is the catalyst of the Manitoba Moose this season, without a doubt. When you watch the Manitoba Moose play this year, Ville Heinola is the identity of that team, in my opinion, with the way he runs the power play, his vision, how he's able to find his teammates, feed the puck, and just his overall play. In 16 games with the Moose so far this year, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points, not getting over the fact that coming off of a great World Junior performance where he had 4 points, playing the Jets with 1 game where in my opinion he made Morrissey look the best he's been all season, and just overall having a really good year and campaign for himself in every area of professional hockey that he has played in this season and this year in general. So I think now that we know all this information, we've seen what Ville Heinola can do at basically the second best league in the world if you're debating with the KHL and the AHL there. I think that there's a good argument to be made to have Ville Heinola come into the lineup, and that's exactly what Cheveldayoff hinted at in his interview after the trade deadline. But what I think brings into the fact that I think is a little interesting is if Chevy wants this type of thing to happen, if Chevy wants this conversation to be had with him and Paul Maurice, where that they can try to input in Ville Heinola to the lineup and see what happens, I'm all for that. But I'm just asking the question, why is it taking Chevy so long to stand up to Maurice and try to get him to inject this guy into the lineup? Because let me ask you something, if you were against rushing prospects, that's totally okay, but why are you okay with Ville Heinola riding the pine right now with the taxi squad, not playing properly, and also with the way the AHL season is, with the massive gaps, long gaps it goes within playing games? Why don't you have this guy playing with the club trying to make us better, especially now that the fact that the trade deadline is passed, we know we don't have a top 4 defenseman, and we need to try to find what works best. Look at the last performance we just had against the Ottawa Senators, and it just proves my point in my opinion. The Jets defense was overworked, and the talent that they have is overworked to the point where they are normally solid depth defensemen, third pairing guys like Tucker Pullman, like Nathan Beaulieu, who in the past, let's be honest, we never had a problem with these guys. But when they're overworked and forced to become top 4 guys, they fail and they bring down the rest of the performance of this club, and especially the defensive core and players like Josh Morrissey especially. Morrissey's play has taken a massive hit, and a lot of people think it's because he's not as good as he was advertised. I think it's because of the fact that you're sticking him with bums and expecting him to play, with Nathan Beaulieu, with guys like Tucker Pullman, and have consistent success with that when he's already had success with Dylan DeMello, a guy that we re-signed to a 3x3 deal after acquiring him at last year's deadline because he made Morrissey look better. So I don't understand the issues with the defense and the way Paul Maurice runs that. And I've made my opinions on that very clear. And this isn't a video about me attacking Paul Maurice either, because there are lots of different things that I've liked about what Paul Maurice has done recently. If you've been watching my channel since probably the start of the season at least, you know how much I've criticized Paul Maurice Maurice in his usage of that fourth line, especially at the start of the year when Nate Thompson came in. I did not like that fourth line. I wanted to see Gustafsson play. I wanted to see Vesalainen drawing in. I wanted to see Harkins drawing in. More importantly, I wanted Ville Heinola being drawn in as well over guys like Nathan Beaulieu. I'd made my criticisms of it very clear. I made lots of different videos talking about my, beef I had with Paul Maurice and how he's running the team I watch and I like and I root for. But nonetheless, I'm going to be completely honest, and I'll be the first to admit I was wrong about all those things, minus Ville Heinola, I think, but we'll get to that later. I think that fourth line has played fantastic. The third line has been great the way it is. The entire top four, the lines, the offense as a whole has been, in my opinion, very, very great, and if not stellar. And I think that is something that I want to give him credit for, because a lot of people, a lot of fans weren't big, supporters of Nate Thompson drawing in, that way that fourth line was structured, especially with Matthew Perreault and all these different issues that you may have had with the way the fourth line and the bottom six was structured at the start of the season. But let me be completely clear. I think Paul Maurice has done a great job in shaping that up. And more importantly, I think at times Paul Maurice has done a good job at making the defense look okay. Yeah, I've been a huge criticism of him playing guys who, in my opinion, are bottom pairing guys way too much. We saw examples of that with Nathan Beaulieu playing more than Josh Morrissey at times in certain games before he went down with that season-ending injury, and I think that stuff like that is bogus. There isn't really an excuse at this point, though, in my opinion, at the current way the season is structured, with how many games are left, going into the playoffs, the trade deadline is passed, we know the roster we have, we know what we're going to have to expose in expansion, we know all these certain things, yet the one issue that I keep coming back to is if Kevin Cheveldayoff wants to see Ville Heinola in. If that's the point that he's trying to make, which in my opinion and a lot of other people's, Ken Weebs, Ryan Reynolds, all these other people, it's like, okay, what are you going to want to do? What do you want to do? How do you want to bring him in? If Paul Maurice doesn't want to bring him in, and you do, and you think that is the answer, potentially an answer for this team's problems at the back end, why isn't he being brought in? Now, in my opinion, he should be coming in when the Moose aren't playing. Now, you might be also thinking, shouldn't we be worried about burning a year off of ZCL? Let me ask you the question. If you are the Jets currently right now trying to compete for a cup within the next 3 years, do you really care about Ville Heinola burning a year off of his entry-level contract deal because of the fact that you're trying to use him to better yourselves now going into a playoff run? Because let's be honest, we don't want to have Ville Heinola come in cold. We should be giving him chances and giving him games to get used to the NHL speed, to get used to the way the team plays, and use him as an asset, as a beneficial part of this team moving forward, because he is the only real wild card we have left, in my opinion. We know what the defense is now. We know what Jordie Benn, I told you guys I was going to keep doing that. We know what Jordie Benn brings to this club as that extra defenseman. We know that he's worth a 6th-round pick, and I said this to my dad yesterday, and I said this to a bunch of other Jets fans. You know as a fact that even if you're Cheveldayoff, you're paying a 6th for a depth defenseman. You're not playing a 6th for a guy who you expect to come in and play top 4 minutes. And if Paul Maurice does that, then we have a serious problem with this club moving forward. And I don't think that there's any fan that would really argue that if they see a guy like Logan Stanley get pulled out of the lineup for Jordie Benn to come in and play top 4 and play with guys like Morrissey potentially, or hell, even playing with Pionk, or however the lines are juggled at that point with the pairings, I don't think there'd be a single fan happy with that. So I'm proposing, like Cheveldayoff, and I'm in agreement with him, that we should be experimenting with Ville Heinola. If you're Paul Maurice, or if you're a Ville Heinola and you're an avid person against putting him in the lineup, let me ask you this. Do you really think Ville Heinola coming in and playing, say, 15 games with the regular season games before the playoffs, and, do you expect the Jets to really have a rookie like that come in, burn him out completely, waste him, be a horrible player moving forward, and more importantly, do you really think that he's going to make this team lose like 8 out of those games, out of those 15, or even more than half of those games? Like, do you really think that he would do that? Do you think that Ville Heinola is that, not ready for the league, that you think that he would damage this team? Because if you think that 15 games is going to damage his development, or he's going to damage his team moving forward, I think you don't need to reevaluate your sense of the game of hockey, because I don't think that would be a problem whatsoever for this club moving forward, or for Ville Heinola's development. The Jets need to have the best versions of themselves moving forward. I'm not talking about playing Dylan Sandberg. I'm not talking about playing every single player that's being good on the Moose. We're not seeing Nathan Todd coming up and jumping into the top 6, but I'm saying that when a guy as good as Ville Heinola has been for the last whole year in the Liga, in the World Juniors, and in the AHL, 3 different leagues, 3 different levels of hockey where he has been consistently getting better every game, I think it's worth putting the kid in and trying it out. I don't think at this point you shouldn't try it. I know that people are going to be still against that, but at this point in the season, with the way the defense is, the deadline's gone, we know what we are as a team, we know our identity, and we know our personnel, you got to try to experiment, find a way, and find just an answer to that question is, if if Ville Heinola is potentially the answer for this club, or even just a little bit of a stopgap for at least this year in his development, or whatever you can do to help push your club a little bit more over the edge than what it already is. Because in my opinion, I think Ville Heinola would not hurt this club at all, if not make them better than what they already are, if not just help them. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, Jets fans, what you want to see happen with Ville Heinola, what your interpretations of Kevin Cheveldayoff's talk with the media was after the trade deadline and all of his stuff with Paul Maurice and whatnot. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, if you're a fan of the Winnipeg Jets, more importantly, a fan of hockey regardless of the team you root for, definitely consider dropping a subscription, as we're approaching that 1K subscriber mark, and that is a huge goal, and I really do thank you guys for all the support. I've got a really huge channel announcement coming very soon, so if you haven't already subscribed with notifications turned on, definitely do so. Follow all my socials down, links in the description as always. Peace, love, and positivity as always, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in the next video. Go Jets, go.